Welcome to the Idaho Fishing Report. Whether you are planning just a couple of hours or a full weekend of fishing, this is your one-stop place for all the information you need to plan your trip. It's all right here, from weather forecasts and reservoir levels to the latest stocking reports and expert advice. And now, the host of Idaho Fishing Report, Jeff Cullers.
Welcome to the Idaho Fishing Report for the week of September 30th, 2022. The last weekend of September and the first weekend of October. Going to be a great show for you. Jordan Rodriguez joins us. I've got all your reservoir level and boat ramp information, not as bad as you think it would. Of course, weather conditions, fishing tournaments, and stocking report. So sit back and relax. This is the Idaho Fishing Report. Let's start this off up in the Magic Valley like we do each and every week. Sunset will be around 7:20 p.m. So this is a little late getting out, so apologize. Friday, not going to have a whole lot of information for you. 65 for the high. There's some morning rain, but I think by the time you listen to this, it's all going to be gone. Over the weekend, absolutely gorgeous. Highs in the low to mid 70s. Only a 4 to 3% chance of rain. Winds 5 to 8 mile an hour. Nothing crazy. First part of next week, again, same story. Mid 70s, sunny, low chances of rain, low winds. And then Wednesday and Thursday, it really picks up into about 80 degrees for both days. Only a 7 mile an hour wind. And as we ease towards that full moon, I think that's going to be your best bet over the Magic Valley. Lake Walcott remains at 74% full, an elevation of 42-43. The boat ramp is open. Little Wood, however, is down 19% full, an elevation of 51-78. However, the Little Wood boat ramp is open. Salmon Falls Creek Reservoir is going to get stocked pretty heftily this week. 13,550 fish. And there's one fishing tournament this weekend, October 1st. Happy birthday, Dad, is going to be the Mini Cassia Bassers at Lake Walcott, and they'll be using the State Park boat ramp. And that's your report for the Magic Valley. All right, my favorite part of the show each and every week is the Tightlines 208 Hot Tip of the Week. And joining us this week, fresh off that fly fishing class, is Jordan Rodriguez. Jordan, how you doing?
I'm doing great, brother. How are we doing tonight?
I am fantastic. It's fall, but it's still a warm week here in southern Idaho, so it's a win for me.
Didn't feel like fall today, did it?
No. For the listeners, we record this obviously in advance, but it was an 80-some degree day today, so that was it was quite interesting for sure. So what is that Tightlines 208 Hot Tip of the Week, sir?
Yeah, well, this is probably on my mind for two reasons, Jeff, but tonight I want to talk a little bit about barbless hooks. Pros, cons, why do it or not do it. And it's probably on my mind. We got the fly fishing class. Obviously, barbless flies are oftentimes a thing, perhaps more so than in traditional lure fishing. And also, I'm getting prepped, and we'll probably talk about this on the next show as well. I'm getting prepped to head down and fish Pyramid Lake for the first time. Of course, Pyramid Lake in Nevada, a legendary trout fishery for these enormous Jurassic Lahontan cutthroat trout that can reach 20, 25 pounds or more.
Wow.
And the rules on that lake all dictate barbless hooks. And so just the other night, I was sitting at my table pinching the barbs off of a bunch of lures that I bought for that trip. So just got me thinking about, the pros and cons. So we'll start with the pros, obviously, and sometimes it's required, as in Pyramid Lake and, several places across our state as well. Sure. The South Fork Boise River comes to mind. And there's really countless other either fisheries or stretches of river where barbless hooks are required. And obviously it's it's like a protection mechanism. It's a way to try and limit the damage on fish when we are removing the hooks, right? So obviously the barb is there to kind of go through and then get stuck so it won't come out. And without having the barbless hooks, or without having the barbs on the hooks, they tend to come out, quite a bit easier in most hookups. And so that's really kind of the rationale behind it is it will create healthier release on fish, at least a good percentage of the time. So that's kind of the reason to do it. Another good reason to do it is the same applies to people. So
Right?
if you're a beginner fly caster, or if you got kids around or anything like that, pinching the barbs down is never a bad idea, because if one does go awry and winds up somewhere in your skin, in your hands, in your clothes, anything like that, removing it becomes quite a bit easier as well. Obviously, still painful, but less damage coming out, and can attest to the damage that a treble hook does once it gets past that barb, and it's not too fun. So maybe stop there and see if you have any thoughts or input on that.
Well, I will tell you this, as someone who has gone barb deep before in my own hand, for sure, it would have been a much easier process to get it out without the barbs in it. And it's for sure definitely one of those that, when you get that barb in, it's pretty thick. So I have a question for you then. So I found myself in a situation earlier this year, was going to go out to a fishery and was going to do some fishing. I get there and I find out that it is a trophy lake. I think it was Treasurton. If I'm remembering correctly, I think it was Treasurton.
Yeah, Treasurton is a trophy
Yep.
lake. So,
And it's barbless, and I have no barbless hooks in my bag. I just took a small bag with me. What do you do when you find yourself in that? I heard you say you're pinching. So how is it that the listeners can kind of correct that on the fly, if you will?
yeah, it's pretty rare to find these things in the stores. It would have to be like a special order situation to get hooks that come barbless stock. You may find it in some kind of specialty fly shops. And the one thing we can find here locally a lot of times is sturgeon hooks, which have to be barbless. And also during like salmon steelhead season, some of the stores will carry the barbless salmon steelhead hooks for you. So that makes it nice, because you're purchasing it and it's already good to go. If you can't find them, or if, like you said, you find yourself on the water sans barbless hooks, and you notice that it's got signs posted that it's barbless fishery, there's really two ways of doing it. One is to take pliers and kind of pinch down, or even sometimes you can break the barb point on some of the larger hook styles. It'll break off. And on some of the smaller ones, it usually more like pinches down so that it lays flat against the hook. And as long as you've got that barb down, and it'll be obvious to anyone who might check you that you've made an attempt and that you've got it pinched down, that will count as barbless. The other thing you can do is to take a file and file it down.
Oh, sure.
I don't love doing that. It takes longer, and you're kind of, especially on a treble hook, you kind of have a couple other hook points you have to worry about while you're filing the one. So I'm more of a pinch it down with a pair of pliers guy, and do make a good, full, honest effort to do that, so that you don't, a lot of these barbless regulations equals trophy fisheries equals higher likelihood of being checked by Fish and Game when you're on the water.
Sure.
And so definitely a good idea to have those things squared away.
And I think it's a good reminder too to before you leave the house, get on Fish and Game's website. They'll tell you these rules. I made that mistake and did not when I showed up at Treasurton, but I read the signs when I got to the fishery and I was able to see it. So either check it before you go, which is the smartest thing to do, or when you get there, make sure you read the signs. Don't just plop out on the water. Make sure you know what the rules are there. So good advice. I like it. And I know a lot of people like the barbless because they do feel like it's more of a challenge, right? To keep the fish on and not lose it, getting it to the bank or getting into the boat, however you're fishing.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit about the cons, right? Like, why wouldn't you debarb your hooks? Why wouldn't you just make all your lures barbless, for example? And obviously the barbs are there to serve a function, and that's to up your catch rates. And I've done a few field studies on this, if you will. And, on the one hand, I was recently in a high alpine lake doing some trout fishing, and it was barbless trophy regulations. And so I was, I used some flies, but I also was throwing some spinners and a Rapala, and all the lures I used, I had to debarb my hooks ahead of time. And so I had 10 hookups that day and 9 fish landed. So yeah, 90%, that's about what you would, that's pretty good even with barbs on, right? So in that regard, as long as you're, doing the right things to hook the fish and fight the fish properly, you can have a lot of success. Some of the heartbreak can come when you're dealing with really big fish. And I have had, I can think back to last fall. I had a really big Chinook on, and it was on a crankbait or a plug, and that fish. So the key with the barbless hooks, if you're looking at like, what is the onus on me to make sure that I don't lose fish because I'm fishing barbless? And I think the biggest thing is you just really have to keep in your mind, probably what your dad or your grandpa always yelled at you when you were fishing. Keep the line tight. You can't give that fish any slack, because without the barbs, there can be more slippage. And if that slack comes into the line, that's when, you might lose a fish that you otherwise might not have lost. And this big Chinook, I can still see it in my head as we sit here talking on the phone. I had it right to the bank. We were probably 2 or 3 cranks from having it in net range. And it just did, we're talking about a massive fish, right? So it just did a really big and kind of unexpected, awkward head shake. And that was it, and I had full tension, but a fish of that size with the head shake was able to generate just enough looseness in the line, slack in the line, that the hook slipped out. And, unfortunately, sometimes that can happen on those big fish, and, it sucks. But I would say in my experience overall, it doesn't really have much of a negative impact on catch rates and landing rates. And so, definitely do it. If you want to do it all the time, you're probably not going to lose, a ton more fish over it. But in places where you do have to do it, I just think, don't worry about it too much. Don't think about it too much. Just do keep in mind that tight line always, 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 always. You have maybe a 10% less margin for error when you're fishing barbless.
Very good. I like it. Great topic. And sounds like a good name for a website too. Tightlines.
Yeah. I'll have to think about that.
Right. Well, that is Jordan's website. It's tightlines208.com. There's a lot of useful information there. Like I said, this episode is airing after the fly fishing class, but there's other classes you can get signed up for. And Jordan has a lot of great stuff. You can also follow him on social media. How do we follow you on social media, Jordan? I'm at
tight_lines208. And that's my Instagram. Lots of good stuff on there. Details about upcoming classes, fun fish pictures, my cute kids holding fish, all kinds of good stuff. So, and then obviously the website, tightlines208.com. We do have classes coming up throughout the fall and the winter time, including an ice fishing class that is one of my most popular, sells out every year. So that'll be something to look forward to in the wintertime when maybe you're not even thinking about fishing.
All right. Very good. All right. That's Jordan Rodriguez, owner and creator of Tightlines 208. He joins us each and every week and gives us his hot tip of the week. Jordan, we hope you have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Likewise. Thanks, Jeff.
All right. Well, big thanks to Jordan there. And exciting news we have. We have an opportunity now. If you want to help support the show, you can do that through Patreon. We have a link on our website. Just go to gemstatefishing.com, click on the Patreon site. Here's some good news, though, listeners. If you sign up to be a Patreon, there's a lot of advantages that you get. Like, you will get the podcast before anybody else does. But also, additionally, we're going to give you a discount to any of Jordan Rodriguez's Tightline 208 classes Plus, we're going to give away a seat in every class that he has in the coming year, simply because you're a Patreon listener. So if you'd like to support the show, you can do it for as little as $5 a month. And you can do that to help us continue to grow, and you get some great discounts, and you also get some great advantages. So go to gemstatefishing.com, click on the Patreon page, and become an Idaho Fishing Report patron. Let's look at that Treasure Valley. Starting over in Mountain Home in the Bruno area, sunset will be around 7:26 p.m. Gonna kind of be the same story on Friday, high of 72, 14 mile an hour wind. After that, it really dies down. It's gonna be sunny over the weekend, highs in the mid to upper 70s. There's a 3 to 5% chance of rain, but only a 4 to 7 mile an hour wind. We're gonna see the same thing first part of next week, high 70s, low 80s, all the way through Thursday. Calm winds, sunny. Boise area, 7:27 p.m. sunset, mid 70s and upper 70s through the weekend. As we get closer to the first part of next week, the temperature goes up. 13 mile an hour wind on Friday, but after that, again, it dies down to single digits, 6 to 8 mile an hour, nothing crazy. Sunshine all the way through till next week. Highs in the lower 80s to mid 80s through Thursday. Reservoir level and boat ramp information. Anderson Ranch pretty much maintained and 75% full with an elevation of 4173. All boat ramps are open. Now, Arrow Rock is down to 18% full with an elevation of 3110. Only the low ramp is open. Kind of the same song and dance at Lucky Peak, down to 17% full with an elevation of 2947. The only boat ramp open there is Turner Gulch. Lake Lowell, 51% full with an elevation of 2521. All ramps are open. However, if you're listening to this on Friday, congratulations, you get to go fish. If you're listening to this after Friday, I'm sorry, but the lake is closed to fishing until next year. Stocking, about 2,000 fish along the Boise River. I recommend going to Fishing Game and seeing if your favorite spot's in there. We have a link on our links page on our website. Fishing tournaments. There are none to report, and that's your report. The Treasure Valley. Hey, guess what, listeners? We have a new website. That's right, it's gemstatefishing.com. Go there to check out all the links because you can get all the information we provide here. You can also contact us through the site. Let's take a trip up that double nickel to the Cascade area. Sunset will be around 7:26 p.m. All right, temperatures there are going to be a little bit cooler than they are in the southern part of the state. We're looking at mid to upper 60s through the weekend. It's going to go from partly cloudy on Friday to mostly sunny on Saturday and Sunday. There's a 15% chance of rain on Friday and a 4% chance of rain on Sunday. Calm winds, 6 to 7 mile an hour. First part of next week, we're going to see lower 70s to mid 70s. As the week progresses, it will get warmer. Rain 2 to 5% throughout the week. Again, calm winds up that way. Cascade, currently 57% full, an elevation of 4816. We did lose a boat ramp this week, so that means that only Campbell Creek, Poison Creek, and Carbotten are open. Deadwood is maintaining at 46% full, with an elevation of 5302. The Cozy Cove boat ramp is open. Man Creek is down to single digits, 5% full. That's an elevation of 2831. The south ramp is closed, and boys and girls, the north ramp is 1 foot away from being closed. It's still open, but be mindful when you go up there. One stocking to report for that area, Horse Thief is getting about 7,500 fish stocked this week. I will tell you, if you're one of those folks that likes to go and look for that yourself, you may have noticed, and if you haven't, here's a little advice. Fish and Game has swapped how they put that order in. It used to be the future was at the top and the recent or the past was closer to the bottom. Well, they flipped that now, and it looks like as we go into the future, you go further down. Just be mindful of that when you're on there looking. All right, one fishing tournament to report up in that area. October 1st, the Snake River Bass Masters will be at Lake Cascade, and they'll be using the Blue Heron boat ramp. And that's your report for the Cascade area. Hey, do you want to be part of the show? Email us with questions or your fishing report from your last trip. You can email us at gemstatefishing208@gmail.com. Want to send me pictures of your fish? Send it to myfish@gemstatefishing.com. And if you have questions about the show or want something answered, email us at questions@gemstatefishing.com. Let's head over to the Snake River Reservoir area. Sunset will be around 7:29 Mountain Time. Friday, highs in the mid-70s, partly cloudy. That's on Friday, if you're listening to it the first day of the show. Over the weekend, highs in the upper to lower 80s, mostly sunny. 4 to 5% chance of rain, also 4 to 5 mile an hour winds. That was convenient. First part of next week, we're going to see low to mid 80s, and that will maintain all the way through Thursday. Monday and Tuesday is going to be sunny. Wednesday, Thursday, mostly sunny. And again, calm winds, 4 to 5 mile an hour. Single digit chances of rain all week long. Brownlee sitting at 2044. All ramps are open except Spring Recreation and Steck Park. That algae bloom warning is still in effect for the Brownlee area. No stocking or fishing to report for the Snake River Reservoir area. You can find us on Facebook groups, or you can follow us on Twitter at Idaho_report. It is time for that moon phase report. The first quarter is going to be October the 2nd, which is Sunday. Full moon 7 days later, October the 9th. Perigee will be on Tuesday, October the 4th, and the apogee rolls around in the middle of the month, October the 17th. We are fully engaged into fall, and we have some great temperatures over the weekend with several peaks in the good range. Over the weekend, your best times to fish will be between 6 a.m. and 7 a.m., so early birds, that's your time. If you're not an early bird, you're going to get that same cycle in the afternoon around 6 to 7 p.m. Now, we will see a midday peak between noon and 2 as well. So you'll have a chance to get out there and do some fishing in the middle of the day. Now, over the first part of next week, the peaks are really going to start to dissipate into just barely good. But the great news is they start to pick back up on Thursday as we inch towards the full moon next weekend. Your best times to fish during the first part of next week will be mid-morning and mid-afternoon. So if you can get out during the week, during those times, it's going to be some great time to get out. That 10 to noon, and then again that 2 to 4 in the afternoon. But I will tell you this, next weekend, kind of a little preview here, it's going to be a great weekend of fishing. As far as the moon phase, let's hope the weather holds out for us. It's not going to be a bad weekend. I think we're going to see a pretty decent grade this weekend. So I'm going to have to give the weekend a B+. The weather's going to be perfect. The fishing's going to be good. So, how can you get away from that? So I'm going to give it a B+ over the weekend. Now, the first part of next week and probably through Wednesday, I'd have to give that a C. I don't think the fishing's going to be that great. So you're not going to have much of a chance, but I will tease you a little bit. I think next weekend, as long as the weather holds out, it's going to be a really great grade as we hit that first full weekend of October. Well, it's been a great show. I didn't get a chance to do any fishing this week. Actually, I had to take the boat in to have some service done on it, so we didn't get a chance to get out, and I was traveling, so not much of a chance to get out. Might be able to get out some this weekend, but I know for sure I want to get out next weekend as we get that probably last good full moon before we get deep into hunting season. And it's been a great show. Thank you for coming along with me. The whole season's been great. Like I said, we're starting to kind of wind down the end of our season here, but shout out to Jordan Rodriguez coming and talking about barbless hooks. Just a good reminder to make sure you go to Fishing Game's website before you go fishing to understand the rules. And if you don't do that, make sure you check the signs wherever you're fishing. Thank you so much, listener. It's been a great week. I look forward to talking to you again next week. I'm Jeff Cullers, and I'll see you on the water. We would like to thank you for listening to the Idaho Fishing Report, and would like to remind you to visit our website, gemstatefishing.com, or you can find us on Facebook or YouTube. I'd like to thank our sponsors, our guests, and experts, as well as you, our listener, for making this show possible. This has been an Old Man Studios production. Join us next week for another episode of the Southern Idaho Fishing Report.